So, you want to be an animator on YouTube. Now, before I get into this video, let me first say that the point of this video is not to discourage anybody who has the passion and wants to become an animator. And before I get into my points, let's first hear from some other major animators on YouTube.
Most animated content being produced now is at a loss to the creator.
The YouTube monetization system fucks animators in every possible way.
YouTube is it's kind of too hard to work on now for animators.
The work to pay ratio is just completely off the grid.
A piece of high quality animation could take one person from about 2 to 5 months to produce. Frequent uploads for an independent animation channel are incredibly unreasonable.
Frequency of upload, the other is length of video. Both of which are things animators are sorely challenged in.
Minutes watched and frequency of uploads.
To create an animation that takes 3 minutes, let alone 20 minutes, can take months of work. And just to give you an example for context, the introduction to this video, that animated sequence of that avatar jumping across and the intro happening, took me a week's full-time work. 1 week, 5 days, full-time work for 8 seconds of animation.
The golden number that I hear time and time again is around like 10 minutes or more. For an animation channel to achieve this, they need to be able to pay an entire staff of animators.
And the problem is 1 week of full-time work to create 8 seconds of animation doesn't compete with the fact that right now I will be able to record and produce this video in a matter of 2 hours maybe and be finished and have 5 to 10 minutes of content for you to watch.
This kind of upsets me because, you know, like, I see a lot of young and talented animators that are now going entirely undiscovered and struggling to make a name for themselves.
Millions of views even on that video won't get you enough money if you spent a month or two's work on it.
YouTube has unintentionally created an environment where quantity outweighs quality.
The system isn't broken, it's just not made for animators.
Long story short, what they're trying to say is that YouTube's algorithm favors watch time over quality of content. And what that means is animations can take a ridiculous amount of time to actually create. As Draw with Jazza said, it took him an entire week to make 8 seconds of animation. That's an entire week of work versus 8 seconds of real time. And if you published an 8-second animation on YouTube, it probably won't get any views because it's too short. There's no watch time accumulated there, so YouTube will choose not to share it, and thus it won't get any views, and thus it won't make any money. Therein lies the first issue, and that's simply because animations are shorter, because they require so much work to make every second of animation. Simply because they're shorter, they will make less money. And then the second main issue is because it takes so much time to create every second of animation, your hourly wage as an animator gets reduced to cents per hour. And when you factor in all of the costs that come with an animation, including your time, these animations are actually running at a loss, meaning you're actually spending money to make them, not earning any money from publishing them to YouTube. Even worse, if you invested all of this time and money into these animations and then they get that beautiful yellow icon demonetized. How horrible is that if you spend 1,000 hours on an animation and it gets demonetized? That is the worst possible thing that can happen, and actually has happened to a few channels. I know FlashGits has been complaining about that. This is a common misconception among the audience on YouTube. They see a lot of views on an animation and they automatically assume that that person is making money off the animation. And what's even worse is because anime is so beloved by the entire world, the majority of the views are from countries outside the US that have little or no ads or CPM. Countries like Brazil, India, Indonesia, Mexico, if you're even lucky enough to get an ad in those countries, it will give you just a fraction of a cent. Millions of views in those countries might give you $50. This video took around 1,500 hours to make, Anime War Episode 6. About 500 of those hours were from the rest of the team and 1,000 were from me alone. The reason why creating anime is so damn expensive is all because of salaries. It's not expensive because of equipment or production costs. If you're gonna commission a studio to create an anime episode for you, the majority of the cost, which can be hundreds of thousands of dollars, is all in the labor. And the reason that I do it is because I'm passionate about it. As a Dragon Ball fan, as an anime fan in general, I think just about all of us have dreams and aspirations to make our own story. As we're fans of these shows, we get ideas and concepts in our own minds. And the reason that I've invested so much time and money into making Anime War, into making my story, is because I love it so much. And I want to make my story a reality for something that other people can view. Trust me, I don't like spending all of this money and all of my time slaving over a tablet just to lose money. It sucks, but that's what it takes if you want to make your story a reality. And I'm not trying to discourage anybody who wants to be an animator and make their story come true. By all means, you should. If you have the passion, you should learn to animate and do it. But I am discouraging people who think that they're going to be able to get rich off of making animations. It's simply not going to happen. There are several successful YouTube channels that only do animation that have actually made quite a living out of it, like Cyanide and Happiness, Jaden Animations, and there's a couple others, but none of those are anime quality. They have to reduce the animation quality or the look and feel of the animation simply so that it's less expensive so they can do more frames and pump them out quicker. As many of you know, I have my own anime concept or animated series called Demon Rush that I'm really anxious to get started on, but at the same time, that means I'm gonna have to spend a ridiculous amount of money and time to make something that probably won't earn any money back. A lot of people are like, do it, I can't wait to see Demon Rush, like just do it, what are you waiting for? Well, it's insanely expensive. The average price of an anime episode in Japan is between $180,000 and $300,000, and it's far more expensive over here in the US. I don't have 300 grand laying around to invest on my own anime episode, which probably won't go anywhere unless I have an entire batch of episodes that I can pitch to investors. So that would mean I would need like $1 million worth of the animation just to present my series to the public in a professional fashion. And I don't have $1 million, guys. If you wanted to get rich off animations on YouTube, you'd have to release 3 to 4 animations a week, and they would all have to be 10 minutes long. And that's literally impossible. Now, you may have seen some other YouTubers who do have success as animators on YouTube, but those who have success are either taking some shortcuts or they're supplementing their animations with other kinds of videos in between. That's what I do, and that's what Draw with Jazza does. I take all the money that I earn from the other videos I do and then dump them into the animations. Some other animators on YouTube will mix half of a video and half of animation. There's a guy, Swoozy, who does this, and this is actually really smart because to make a 5-minute video of animation can take you 6 months of work to do. But if you're just using a minute and you're not really animating it too much and you're splicing that in with video, something like that you could probably produce once a week. That actually does make it relatively feasible. And there are a couple other animators or animation channels on YouTube which only do animation, but they're either backed by investors, they're a company, because considering that animation runs at a loss, you can't focus your channel on just simply only being an animation channel and expect to earn a living off it. Even if you're earning, let's say, $7,000 a year through your animations, that will never be a full-time job. You can't quit your job and just become an animator full-time on YouTube. If you do it on the side and on the weekends and it's some extra money for you, well then that's great. But considering if you have a full-time job, you're probably not going to be able to animate that much unless it's nights and weekends. The average salary in the US is around $50,000 a year. And if you're pulling in $7,000 a year on YouTube, you can't even pay rent, let alone put food on the table. That's less than half of minimum wage. I mean, if you're working at McDonald's making $7.25 an hour, which is the minimum wage, you're making a little over $15,000 a year. So what that's saying is animators on YouTube are getting paid less than half of people who flip burgers at McDonald's. To give you another example, two of my colleagues, Audi Loki Studios and Marimo Animation, have been working on this Luffy vs. Kaido animation for an entire year, which, by the way, I've seen some of it. It will be by far the best anime fan film on the internet, period. This is an entire year of work that is going into this fan film, which will be, I think, 10 minutes long, and it'll probably earn maximum $5,000. You're talking about a year of work for $5,000. Nobody can do that. That is literally unlivable. You can't pay rent, you can't put food on the table. It's impossible. And a lot of people ask me, well, Dragon Ball Super is ending, so you can just continue doing Anime War. Long story short, guys, it is unfeasible and unreasonable to try and make money off of animations on YouTube. However, if you spend enough time doing it and you practice your skills, which I'm still practicing, I mean, I consider myself a very newbie animator. I've only been doing this for 2 years now. Most of the best animators in the world have all been doing it for 20 to 30 years. But if you get good enough, there is opportunity that eventually in the future, maybe after 5 to 10 years of expertise, you can get picked up by a company. Disney does offer competitive wages for their animators, and they can make 6 figures. They can make a little over $100,000 a year as an animator at Disney. However, one of the issues is 2D animation is basically getting tossed in the garbage, because it's all about 3D animation now, which is faster and less expensive. Animators in Japan who work on the anime that you know and love, the average salary in Japan for those animators is $10,000 a year. Compared to the American average income, which is $50,000 a year, it's absolutely ridiculous. Those animators in Japan that work on the 2D anime you love get paid dirt, and videos which take zero talent to produce make the most money. It is imperative that we support the artists and creators that put true work into their productions for your entertainment.